Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I am talking with a special guest, and we're going to be talking about hair and hormones. So, welcome once again today. I am Sierra Bazell, also known as Sierra the BB Doula, and today I have with me Shea, and Shea is a naturalista who has been natural for 25 years. Is it 25?
Yeah, over
Yes,
25
wow.
years.
25 years. And she is also a hairstylist. She's been styling hair for over 20 years. So, welcome, Shaya.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yes, you're definitely welcome. We're really excited to be talking to you because 25 years is a long time to be natural. Anybody that's been natural for 25 days knows that it can be different and challenging, especially if you're used to using relaxers or chemicals to straighten or at least loosen your curl pattern, and then you go natural. So here you are, natural, trying to figure out what to do with your hair and your life.
Yes.
So, Shaya, can you tell us a little bit about your story? How did you get started on your natural journey?
Okay, well, for me, it took me about three tries, honestly. I tell a little bit of the story in my book about how, in the islands, it was kind of like the coming of age thing. Once you got from elementary school right to go into high school, most girls would get their first relaxer. So, like for me, I was all excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have hair like the big girls, the girl, because they wore their hair different. We had tails and cornrows and all of that. And then once we were ready to go into high school, then we got the perm. So I did it. My mom let me do it for my graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all cool, the first day, you have this flowy hair and it's all fun and stuff. And then reality sets in, once a new girl starts coming in, you have to do stuff like put on rollers, you have to wash it with special shampoos, you know, it's a whole different regimen. And so probably after the first 6 weeks, probably less than that actually, maybe the first month, the novelty start wearing off because as my new growth was coming in and then I still had the straight hair. And of course, like growing up in the islands, we don't really have, I mean, most people don't just have hot running water in their house, It
Mm-hmm.
usually is water straight out the tap, it's cold, and then whatever um, minerals are in the water, that can get deposited on your hair as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
here I'm washing my hair with the same stuff I always did, and my hair looked a hot mess. So after like that first month, 6 weeks, it's like time to get it done again. Well, my parents didn't really have the money to keep my hair up like that. And so my mom tried to do like a home perm that ended up being a mess. And of course, later on, after I went through cosmetology school, I'm realizing that even the composition of the home perm and the perm that you get at the salon are different formulations. They
Mm-hmm.
do similar things, but usually the one at the salon is the sodium hydroxide base, and
Mm-hmm.
then the perm kits are calcium, usually calcium hydroxide bases. And so they have kind of slightly different um, reaction times on your hair, and one doesn't doesn't as I say, one doesn't straighten it as much as the other, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Okay.
So, of course, I'm doing this. The result, of course, was not like going to a salon, and so it just kind of began this cycle of frustration. After I think I had it in for less than a year, I tried to grow it out myself. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a lot of resources, so I'm trying to, tussle with this straight hair this new growth, and of course, that was a lot too. At that time, I didn't even know like how to braid. Like my aunts used to come and they braid us up like on weekends when we were younger, but I didn't know
Mhm.
how to do it. And my mom never really knew how to braid either. She could do plaits, but like not cornrows or twists or anything that fancy. So anyway, so here I was just kind of stuck, you know? And so it took me about three more, no, two more tries after that. You know, after I grew it out so much, and then the new growth was, you know, too much to deal with. I was just like, oh, forget it. I'll just perm it again. So I got in
Mhm.
this rinse and repeat cycle. I'd perm it for so long, then I'd get sick and tired of the routine. Then I'd try to grow it out again. So I think let me see, the last time I permed, I think I was going through like a phase in middle school. And I just came home one day. I was frustrated and I was at my aunt's house, and I just was going through some frustrations, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I literally went in the restroom and just whacked my hair off. And so I came out with a teeny weeny afro. Of course, that was shocking.
Wow.
So anyway, oh no, that was the second time. Then the last time, after I whacked it off, then I was like, I don't know what to do with it. So
Mhm.
like, probably like in another month or so, I permed it again. So I had a short perm. Then that grew out, and I was like, I'm sick of this still. So the last time I grew it out, I remember my mom was like, "Whoo, girl, your hair looks a mess. You need to do something with it, or I'm gonna perm it in your sleep." So I was like, "Oh my God, I can't, I can't have her perm my hair in my sleep." So I literally, I probably was about 17. I literally ran to the store and I got a pack of that cheap synthetic, like 99 cents hair. And I
Mhm.
was like, well, I know how to plait. So let me see if I could plait this into my hair.
Mhm.
And they look not the worst, but it looked better than how my hair was like all over my head.
Mhm.
Um, and so when I went to school, they're like, oh, her hair looks, semi decent. And
Oh,
so, huh?
I said, "Oh wow."
Yeah, this was in high school, and
Yeah.
so it was like really unusual because back then, like almost nobody was wearing their hair natural. I just knew I was tired of it, and but imagine this is senior year, prepping for the prom, and here I am like going natural. So it was just like, oh, what's she doing, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I started braiding it, and that kind of gave me like a little cushion,
Mhm.
between like the daily care of it and also, growing it out and not like being frustrated and stuff. So, so that started my journey, and then I think the summer after I graduated, I there's this African hair shop that was by my house.
Mhm.
And I remember, seeing like the people who come out of there, their hair was always beautiful and stuff like that. So I literally walked in one day and I offered to apprentice myself to the owner. And I
Mhm.
said, hey, I'll come here every day, before I go to work and work for you like for free if you would teach me how to braid and like do hair. I kind of been doing it on the side a little bit, but not seriously. But some of the girls like um some of my friends started asking me to do their hair. Once I started to get like more decent with mine, it wasn't looking so bootleg.
Mhm.
So they'll be like, hey, can you like put some braid in my hair? And I'll be like, okay. So at the end of the summer, I remember, okay, I was getting, pretty decent. So I would just do hair on the side and stuff like that. And then roll forward like, I don't know, maybe a year or so later, year and a half.
Mhm.
Um, I was living. I was living on campus, and
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much turned my dorm room into like a little de facto beauty salon. So when I wasn't in classes, I was braiding hair. I braided the hair for all the girls in the dorm. I guess I should have known that, but I was just like, I started off as an engineering major, then I switched to business, and
Mm-hmm.
one day I was sleeping, and right as I was about to wake up, like I heard this voice that said, "Quit school and do hair." And I was like, "What? That's crazy. My parents are gonna kill me," because I was like a year from graduation. And so anyway, I was like, "Nah, this is crazy. I'm gonna ignore it." So literally almost every morning for the next week, as I was waking up, this voice was like, "Quit school and do hair." And the next one was, "I quit school and do hair." I was arguing back and forth with this voice. I was like, I think I'm going crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so let's say it started on Monday. Um, by Friday, I was like, okay, fine. And then I marched into the registrar's office and dropped all my classes. So by then, I started having like a pretty decent, like, you know, little clientele and stuff like that. I'd gotten to the point where I could give up like my day job, and then the braiding people I had on the side were basically enough to pay my rent and stuff. I think I did have this like little side, like a weekend job.
Mm-hmm.
And around the time I dropped my classes, there was one lady, her name was Jamila. She opened the first natural hair shop in Houston. So this was so long ago that at that time they did not have like the special program like for natural hair and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she came to my apartment because that's where I was bringing out in my apartment. And apparently I had started doing a bunch of her customers, but I didn't know who she was. So she
Mm-hmm.
came and she recruited me, or she tried to recruit me. And I was just like, well, right now, I think this was right before I heard that voice. So I told her, "Oh no, I wouldn't be available till like the summer. I have all of this stuff to do. I have all of these classes to take." And then I think the next week I heard the voice. I dropped all my classes, and I showed up at her shop like, "Hey, by the way, I'm ready." And she's looking like, yeah, you told me you were gonna be ready in like what, another 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
But to make a long story short, she became my next mentor, and
Mm-hmm.
she taught me the other side of the business. And so, like maybe a year after that, I heard that they were offering the natural hair licensing in Houston. And so I was probably one of the first group of people to take them up on that. So I did it, went to school, graduated, and took my state board, and then I got licensed. Then I opened my first shop.
Wow.
So, and the rest is in history. But yeah, it's wild. I was telling people, like, even the way I found my first shop, it's
Mm-hmm.
like really, really like, I'm telling people, it's nothing but the work of God, because I'd worked with Jamila. It's pretty good. After a while, I went back to school, got my license, and
Mm-hmm.
then I got to a point where I felt like I wasn't growing there anymore, so I ended up leaving, and I
Mm-hmm.
started back working from home. So after a while, I had so many people that the apartments that I was in, they're like, "Wait a minute, what's going on? Oh
Mm-hmm.
no, this place is not licensed for commercial use, so you're gonna have to go." So I
Right.
told them, well, it's either you let me continue braiding, or I won't be able to pay my rent. This is how I pay my rent.
Right.
So I needed to find somewhere like quick, fast, in a hurry. But I was looking and looking and looking and looking, and I could not find anywhere that was in my budget, that
Mm-hmm.
was, nice, decent, whatever. And so I just started praying about it. And, you know, I put it out there. And then one day I was driving down the road,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I heard this voice that said, turn right. And I was like, okay. So I turned right. And then it was like, turn right again. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn right again. And then it's like, turn left. And then I turned left and it goes, stop. And so when I stopped, I looked up and it was this small little building. And on one side was a beauty shop, and on the other side was a barber shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going in to talk to the people in the barber shop, and the lady that was in there. She's like, "Oh, the owner's not here right now, and I don't have his number handy, so no, I can't tell you who's renting this building." I guess she just didn't want me to rent. I don't know. Because I told her I was inquiring about the space next door.
Mm-hmm.
So she told me no, she didn't have his number. I was like, "Do you know when he'll be back?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Okay." So I just literally left. I was like, "Okay, God, this is all in your hands." So I peeked at the little window, and the space was perfect. It just so happened to be empty, but there wasn't a number on the building as far as who owned it or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally got home and like I turned my TV on, and right at the time I turned my TV on, there was a segment on about property owners and how to find property owners. If you're looking at property but you don't know how to contact the people, and it
Mm-hmm.
basically walked you through and gave you a step by step of how to look up the records, um, extract the information, and then I basically did that. The when I found the property record, um, the name of the owner was on there, but it didn't have a phone number. It was a fax number.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had literally just got my new computer like 2 days before that. And guess what? It had a built-in fax thing, an
Wow.
electronic fax,
Wow.
um, an electronic fax built in. And so I just faxed her, and I was just like, hey, I introduced myself. I told her that I was interested in her property, and if she would be interested in renting to me, she could just call me at my number. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just did it. I didn't think anything more of it. I think she called me like maybe 2 weeks later, and she was like, "Hi, this is so and so, the owner of the property that the shop is located." And I was like, "Oh, this is great," And so she was like, "I'm so confused. Like, how did you even get my number?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not listed anywhere." And I said, "Well," I told her my story of how I was driving on the street and I was led to her spot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, I literally heard the voice of God said, "Okay, stop here." And then I told her how I happened to turn on the TV and they were showing how to find property owners. And I said, "Your fax number is on there." And I just so happened to get this new computer with the fax machine built in. So I faxed you. I was just like, I told her like it was just a shot in the dark, and I wasn't expecting anything. And then she called me back. So she told me her mom had owned that property. Her mom was a hairstylist for years and years and years. She passed away. She was the only child, so she inherited the property. She
Mm-hmm.
said that she was just planning to sell it. She was going through a lot, and she wasn't really trying to deal with new tenants, and she was gonna literally just lock it up and be done. And here I come along with my story, and she goes, "You know what? I was just gonna lock it up and not be bothered, but hearing your story, I am so compelled. Like I have to rent the space to you." So she asked me what my budget was. I told her we came up on a price, and then she goes, "Okay, I'm gonna rent it to you. Just give me the first and last month rent." And she said it'll be ready in a month. And in that month, she ripped out the floor, she repainted, she did like everything. I literally just walked in there and everything was ready.
Wow.
And that was how I got started with my shop. Yeah.
Wow,
And,
that's amazing. That is.
yeah. And I registered my business on January 1st, 2000.
Mhm.
And I actually moved into my shop on September 4th, 2000.
Wow, that's
So I
awesome.
just realized that's 9 months. That's like giving birth to a baby.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And so over the years, like I feel like the mission has unfolded bit by bit by bit. And so now where I am is like I kind of look at myself as like a portal to wellness, because like so many women like once they go natural, they start like delving into other parts of wellness,
Mhm.
because a lot of my clients, when they're still perm, they're too scared to go work out. They're too scared to, run in the rain. I see them huddled, like when I go to grocery store, they're huddled under the little overhang, like, ooh, I can't get in the rain.
Mhm.
I feel like also being natural opens up intimacy for couples because a lot of times when women are like permed or they have, the chemicals in their hair, it's like they tell their partners, oh, you can't touch my hair till I get a perm. Or you can't touch it because I just got a perm. Or no, I'm about to get a perm, so you can't touch it. And
Right.
I think with me, I've been natural like my whole adult life. So I think I never had that experience of
Mhm.
feeling some kind of way about my roots growing out or, because my hair was just natural. So, and whoever like I dated, of course they like natural hair because they met me natural. So it was just like, okay, I'll help you take your braids down. Okay, cool, not
Right.
a big deal.
Right.
So I didn't realize a lot of the extra things surrounding that and stuff. But also, here's the thing too: there is an invisible burden that we carry a lot as Black women surrounded our hair, and so I want to, free people from that burden, and
Right.
help them to take the first step to total self-acceptance. Now, I'm not saying that someone can have a perm and still love themselves because I understand that for some people, functionally, permanent at the time or whatever the reason might work better for their lifestyle at that time, you
Mhm.
know. But for the women who are ready to make that step, that's my goal to kind of, hold their hand and take them along the process.
Okay, that's good.
Mhm.
That's good. Now, let's shift gears a little bit because our talk is about hormones and hair.
Yeah.
And, I deal with a lot of people with fertility issues or hormonal issues, or even
Mhm.
those that are pregnant. And you and I talked about this earlier last week when we said that
Yes.
people go natural when they get pregnant. That was when I started my journey. I got pregnant with my oldest daughter. And actually, before that, while I was in college, I started getting relaxers maybe twice a year because my stylist was like, you really don't need them. You're just
Right.
using them.
Yeah.
She was like, your hair is not so that you need to get them every 6 weeks. You're just getting them every 6 weeks. So let's
Right.
go to every 3 months. And then we went to every 6 months. And then when I
Wow.
finally got to, I got married and I moved here with my husband. My stylist at that time, she was like, "You're getting relaxers once a year. Why are you even getting?" I
Wow,
said,
that's unusual because usually they're like, come on in, girl. Look, need it or not, I'm permanent here for 6 weeks.
No, no, I was encouraged to not get them because I was getting them so infrequently, and they would just kind of flat iron my hair or do
Oh,
curls or something in the meantime.
mhm.
And they were like, "Your hair does very well like this, so why
Right,
are you
right.
still getting relaxers?" So when I got pregnant, I was like, "Okay, well, since I really probably shouldn't do this anyway, I'm just not going to get any more." And that's
Oh,
what I did. And that was like 11 years ago. But then I,
wow.
like you said, started to notice all of these other things about my body and how things felt so much better because I wasn't putting the chemicals in my body, which meant that I started eating better and I started drinking more water and doing all of these things. So
Hmm.
look at how those chemicals affect your hormones, and kind of what they do to the body. So, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. In a lot of the relaxer formulations, you'll have like sodium hydroxide base. Sometimes with the home kits, it might be calcium hydroxide base.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, a lot of relaxers contain um, hormone disruptors called phytolates,
Mm-hmm.
and these sometimes mimic like estrogen in the body. So like for someone who, might have an excessive estrogen or something along that line, it could tip the balance. Now, I'm just going to put this disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, so I just have to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
So like for anything like medically based, you still want to consult with your doctor and
Mm-hmm.
make sure that the course of action is correct for you and your body type. But they also sometimes contain bromides.
Mm-hmm.
And bromides, from my research, can also be endocrine disruptors because the body like relies heavily on iodine. And for those who may have like a chemistry background, if you've heard about like the periodic table, it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of grouped with elements with similar physical or chemical activities.
Mm-hmm.
So um, iodine, bromides, chlorides, they're all in the same column, and they have different levels of reactivity based on if you move up or down the column. So what happens with those are called halides. So halides have similar actions in the body,
Mm-hmm.
but bromides are not necessary. Iodine is. So if you use things that have too much bromides, or a lot of people clean with a lot of bleach, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, if you use a lot of those things, what happens is if you're like iodine deficient. Oh, let me back up for a second. So I read that the brain, the thyroid, the breast, and the uterus are the largest consumers of iodine in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are, my um, theory is if you're deficient in any of these elements, like essential elements, especially iodine, your body sometimes grabs onto something in that same element group. While it's not a fit, it uses it to plug into, like, we have enzymes, and it carries out a certain amount of activity in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're cleaning with a lot of bleach and like you don't have enough iodine, it might take a chloride atom and plug it in, enzyme receptor, and it kind of sort of works for a little bit, and then everything goes haywire you know so it's just like a stopgap measure. But I believe the body does that for survival purposes
Mm-hmm.
because we need enzymes to function. And of course, if your enzymes aren't function, after a while the cellular activity stops and it leads to death. So
Right.
some of those things I think are short term measure, but when you have such a long period of imbalance and it never like corrects itself, it ultimately leads to like degeneration and inflammation and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me also wonder, because I know I've seen like a big correlation between Black women and fibroids. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, oh, also early puberty.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know in the islands, girls didn't usually get perms till at least they were going to high school. But I know when I came here, I was shocked to see girls as young as 3 years old getting perms, 4 or 5,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And so I'm thinking, what if this is related to like the early breast development and early, and I'm not saying it could just be one cause because live in a vacuum, right? So,
Yeah.
could be, you have the bromides getting into their scalp, you have it in water, food, maybe breathing in air, microdoses all added up. And then I think, who knows, maybe at some point in the microcellular environment, if this imbalance gets to like a heightened level, it could just tip the scale, you know? So maybe you're not having enough iodine sources in your body, and then your uterus doesn't get enough. And then the next thing you know, your body is like, oh, let me put some bromides in that place. And then the bromide, it works for a little bit and then maybe causes tissue inflammation. So
Yeah.
unless your body can flush it out, maybe it just starts to calcify and then build up and up and up. You know, and then we have to remember too, um, that's by our scalps. You know, it has a rich blood supply. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people with perms get like chemical burns, and
Mm-hmm.
you're scratching it or you're scratching 2 or 3 days before your perm. You're having little abrasions on your
Mm-hmm.
scalp, and that is giving it like a straight access to your internal blood supply. So, you know, like I said, my goal is to help give people a roadmap and also to just help people stop and think
Mm-hmm.
about the total effects of everything in their body.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
really good information, because I don't think we think about that. And like you said, here in America, it's different. Most of the time, if you're in high school, you've already hit puberty. So if
Yeah.
you're getting a relaxer and you've already hit puberty, that's not going to push you into, those hormonal imbalances as quickly as it will if you're a young child
Hmm.
getting these relaxers. So if
Right.
you're starting off and maybe you didn't breastfeed for whatever reason, and then maybe your baby has soy milk, and then
Hmm.
on top of that, they eat a lot of fast food, and
Hmm.
you're giving them relaxers at 3 years old, that's a
Yeah.
lot to be taking
Yeah.
in. On top of the chemicals that are going into their skin and the things that they're breathing in, and maybe they don't drink water, they just drink soda all the time and juice, and all of these
True.
things.
Oh, that's something I meant to say too. I found out as well that a lot of citrus flavored soft drinks,
Mm-hmm.
they actually have bromides in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if like you're drinking a lot of Sprite or Mountain Dew or different things like that, they have bromide type flavorings and additives in there as well to give that citrusy taste.
Yeah. So then
Hmm.
mix all that in together, and then said person turns, let's say, 14, and they've had a cycle since they were 8.
Hmm.
Now they have all this heavy bleeding and they're having really bad cramps and all of this. And the doctor goes, hey, let's get you on birth control. And,
Yep.
that just spirals into something where they may end up with PCOS, or it could, cause endometriosis. It could lead you to
Yep.
fibroids. You could even have cysts in your breasts. You might have to have an ovary removed. And again, we're not doctors, but we've seen from the research and from all of these different stories that people have told, including
Hmm.
myself, how all of this works together to create these problems that you then have to go back and try to undo and fix. But if
Yep.
we just make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and living in the state that we were kind of born in,
Hmm.
we wouldn't really have to worry as much, because we do have all the chemicals in the environment already, and we do have things in the water. So we're already fighting against something.
Right.
Why add more? Um,
Hmm. I
then
totally agree. Yeah. So, like I said, going natural has kind of been like a 360-degree
Mhm.
journey for me because it started me. Well, I've always been interested in health, health and like health research and stuff like that. So, like, while I'm not a doctor, I do like a lot of my own research,
Mhm.
because different ones of my clients have different issues. So,
Right.
like, I connect the dots a lot. And over the years, I have been able to get pretty decently, accurate, like when I see certain hair patterns, especially certain patterns of hair loss,
Mhm.
and correlate them to certain health issues that are going on. So if I see certain things happening, I will alert my client, like, look, I see this happening. you might need to go get this checked out by like a doctor,
Mhm.
or you might look into this, or um, make sure they run these tests and stuff like that. Like I remember one of the more recent ones, one of my clients, she was experiencing a certain pattern of hair loss and would done, the natural hair treatments and it wasn't helping. So I said, I feel like your problem is hormonal.
Mhm.
Um, I asked her if she'd got her hormone levels checked recently, specifically her thyroid, and she said no, but she was due for a woman's exam. So I said, based on how her hair was thinning, I felt like she needed to get a thyroid panel as well as have them do her vitamin D. I told her vitamin D was probably low as well.
Mhm.
Well, lo and behold, she went the next week and she said her mouth almost fell on the floor when her results came back, and her doctor's like, you know what? You're going to need to supplement your thyroid because your hormones are your like hypothyroid. And
Mhm.
then her vitamin D level was incredibly low. So he put her on immediately. And now her edges are going back. And then she has I see the new little hairs coming up. Like I have several clients like that. And so once they did um, do the test, then they were able to find out, like, oh my gosh, I'm really not at an optimal level. And they got medication. And so now their hair is actually coming back and they're thriving. So,
Wow, that's
mm,
amazing. And we also see that a lot with postpartum hair loss. Uh,
yes,
you have people that are like, "Oh my God, my hair is coming out in clumps. Like, why is this happening?" And they'll try all of these different things, and it's like it could be your hormones. You might
yes.
want to go look at your hormones because sometimes having a baby can do something to your thyroid or can
Oh,
knock
absolutely.
something out of whack, especially if you don't have those vitamins and minerals in your body that it needs to
Hmm.
sustain the pregnancy. It will start pulling things from different places in your body, and then you're left deficient, and your hair starts coming out.
Oh, for sure. I know a
So,
lot of women who need like major dental work after they have a baby because if they went into pregnancy and they were already unbalanced, now it just, the baby's going to take whatever they need.
right.
So, like if you're not like at an optimal level, yeah, you're going to need some serious tune-ups after the fact. As far as like postpartum hair loss, yes, a lot of those are depending on the hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what I know is a lot of women lose a huge volume of blood, like once you have the baby,
Mm-hmm.
especially, if you have a natural birth or whatever, you're still bleeding for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And so, like, a lot of times that can put them into like an anemic state.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found like my clients who are anemic, they tend to lose hair around their hairlines, you know? And so, or they may be low on vitamin D as well. Or sometimes they could be hypothyroid. So when I see that, I'm like, have you had your iron levels checked lately? Do you know your status?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what what are the nutritional factors? Do you have a high stress lifestyle? And if they're answering yes to all of those, I'm like, okay, well, when you see your doctor, you need to ask them for this thing or that thing or whatever. And I'll give them a little roadmap, and then, I'll have them take that to their doctor. And so they can work hand in hand with their health professional to get them to optimal health.
Wow, that is wonderful because most people that do hair don't really understand the body as well as you do to be able to tell somebody, okay, well, your hair is thinning right here and it looks like this, so this could be an issue. Or you're dealing with postpartum hair loss. It seems like it's coming out right here or right there.
Hmm.
It's your iron, maybe it's so I love that you can do that and that you can offer that type of information to your clients because I think that's invaluable. And a lot more of us would do a lot better health wise and hair wise if we had somebody who was more knowledgeable of how those things work. So I love that. Now, can
Well,
you tell us a little bit about your book? Because that's why we are here.
yes. So anyway, my book is called The Natural Hair Care Guide. And it's basically like just kind of like a natural hair for newbies book, like, just take you step by step. I tell a little bit of my story. I tell what to expect in each stage, what I'll be doing on month 1, month 2 through month 6, how like the different styles that may work in each phase. Um, After the grow out process, if you decide to like, get more help, like going into salon, what to expect, the consultation, the different styles, as well as I also have a few natural recipes,
Mhm.
that I use, and I show like little basics on how to make like your own shampoo, like a conditioner as well, and just different recipes like that.
Wow, that sounds amazing to be able to make your own shampoo and conditioner and
Yeah.
to know what to do. Because when you first go natural, I don't know about everybody else, but after I had my daughter, I really just did not feel like I had the time to keep up with going to the salon. So I started doing my own hair because I had a baby and I didn't want to drag her out. But after about 6 months of that, when you have those two textures and you're trying to deal with it, mine had gotten kind of long by then, so it was just too much going on. And I got upset and I just cut it all off because I was like, I can't do this. I just can't do it. Chop it off. And my stylist, she would only cut it to about here. And
Hmm.
like, no, that's not short enough. You need to cut it off. And she refused to do it. So I had a friend that was doing hair at that time. And I was like, listen, Sherry, I need you to just cut all of this off. And she was so upset with me because she was like, girl, I'm about to do this waiting to exhale cut on you. I don't want to do it. And she cut it off. And I came home and my husband was like,
Uh,
you really did it? Like, for real? You just cut all your and here I was stuck with this hair, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror like,
like,
what?
what am I gonna do?
What am I supposed to do with this little teeny weeny afro? And
Yeah.
here I was trying to search on YouTube because this was 2009, and I'm like,
Oh yeah. Before all the million hair influencers and everybody had a YouTube channel and all
right.
kinds of tips and stuff. Yeah.
So I was all on YouTube. I'm trying to Google. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this hair? And
Did you get the 50 million products too? So,
yes,
everyone recommends a specific
yes.
product and do this or do this or do that. Yep.
I bought everything. I was a product junkie and it was just a whole mess. But I finally figured it out. And then, I stayed natural. I want to say maybe 5 years. Yes, 5 years before I got locks because I was like, my hair is too long. I don't feel like dealing with it. I have two daughters. I'm not doing this anymore. And then I just locked my hair. But, I'm grateful to have that resource out there for people that are dealing with that because if I had that, my life would have been so different. And I
Oh,
would
so
have had,
different.
yes, I wouldn't have had to be out here buying the 50, 11 different types of cream. Like, okay, I got to try the lock method because this one didn't work. Okay, is it LOC or LCO? What's the porosity of my hair? Like, doing all of these things, trying to figure
Right.
out what's going to
Like
work.
to find the perfect roadmap, and that's something I did touch on as well in my book. Like when you're growing up, like knowing the right time to cut. Like I usually don't suggest cutting till your own hair is at least 3 or 4 inches, and
Mm-hmm.
the reason why is for that exact reason. Usually, if women cut too soon, hold on, sorry, my phone is.
Oh,
Usually, if women cut too soon, the issue you face is just that. Like sometimes you are tempted to perm it again because it's so frustrating trying to figure out like what to do with
mm-hmm.
the in the between. So
Definitely. I think that's amazing. And I will say I did have about 3 or 4 inches of hair when I cut it, but still,
okay.
to I cut off 14 inches of hair. Like this was,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Wow, that's major.
yeah. I went from hair to no hair.
Yeah,
Everybody was
I think
looking at
in the book I do discuss like different styles like you could do at like different stages
me.
and what could work for your hair or what works for different uh face shapes and hair types and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
like it's just like a little pocket guide. It's not like a huge volume. I'm thinking in the future I probably will do another one for once people have grown their hair. I'd say it's at least 6 inches, and discussing like the more going more in depth with like LCO or liquid oil or cream or
Hmm.
vice versa, and which one is best and why or why not. And a lot of times, what we face is dryness,
Hmm.
and especially for certain hair types, like the tighter the curl pattern, usually we have more issues with dryness. And a lot of reasons why, too, especially we call that the 4C type. The 4C hair type tends to suffer more with dryness and things like brittleness, because, for one, for it to turn that much, it doesn't usually have as many layers of cuticle. And
Hmm.
so it's a little bit more fragile, So when it comes to dryness issues, usually sometimes it's a protein balance issue. The protein goes in there and like fills in the little gaps in the cuticle. So
Hmm.
once you have the protein in there, the moisture can hold on to it. Otherwise it's just like you have a home and you got a ton of windows and like every other window pane is broken and you're trying to turn your AC up and wondering why your house still feels blazing hot. It can't hold anything in because your windows are all booked off, you
Right.
know. So once you cover those up, then you add moisture to your hair, and then you can seal it. Then your hair stays softer, your curl pattern is a lot curlier. Usually when there's like moisture balance issues, you start having a lot of things that with frizzing and brittleness and stuff like that. So yeah, that I touch on that a little bit in the book as well. So people can also, and also the science. I'm big on science, so I
Hmm.
put a little in there about hair science, the structure of hair, how it's made, so I could build on that foundation to explain as you go along, so you can understand what's happening with your hair.
Wow, that's amazing. Because again, most people have to figure this out some type of way, like by trial and error, but you're giving
Hmm.
them this information. And a lot of stylists just don't share anything about your hair. They just do your hair every 2 weeks or however often you go. And then you come back and you're like, hey, it's a little dry today. And they're like, okay, we're going to do this treatment, girl. And then you sit
Right.
there and you get the treatment, but you don't know how to do it yourself. So during COVID, when we couldn't go to the hair salon, we out here dry
Oh my goodness,
messed
yeah.
up because we didn't know what to do. But if
And this is kind
you're educating.
yeah. Yeah, and this is kind of why I was like, I was on the lockdown as well, and a lot of my clients were texting me, and so I'm telling them what to do. I was like, you know what? I could just like put this all in like a little book, and then like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
then people can have the info instead of me like, okay, do this, then do this, then do that. So to like, 10 different people, I could just be like, okay, here you go, click this link, and then just download this. So
Wow.
yeah. But
Wow.
yeah, a lot of my clients, yeah, they've been helped a lot, and I think, like you said, I know like a lot of stylists don't delve into the science of it, but this is my passion. Like I really, really love hair. I feel like if I wasn't like a hairstylist, I probably would be a researcher. Because I'm always researching.
Mhm.
So, and I really enjoy like that aspect of it because to me, like researching is kind of like it's like putting together puzzle pieces.
Mhm.
And so I like when I'm going along, I'm looking at something, trying to figure out why it does what it does, and then I get a new piece. I go, oh, okay, that fits with this piece I have over here. And then I put the little pieces together, and then it makes its own little like roadmap. So I
Mhm.
definitely want to do a lot more of that, because, like I said, um, I do see a lot of what goes on with the body. It's very interrelational, you know,
Mhm.
like certain, even some of my clients come in with like certain skin issues, and I'm like, oh, I think, and I always tell them, look, I'm not a doctor, but this reminds me of this particular thing, or this pattern that you have going on is indicative of somebody with maybe gallbladder issues or
Mhm.
whatever, you know? And
Mhm.
then I'll be like, and I'm also into alternative health as well. So I'll be like, you need to see an acupuncturist. Go to your doctor, get your full panel, take that to your acupuncturist, and then together they could create like a roadmap or whatever. And like over time, a lot of these issues start like resolving, you know, before they get to like that emergency status, you know.
Right.
And so they're like, oh my God, like I had no idea, you know, how did you know such and such and such? And I'm like, well, you know, I don't know. I'm just always looking stuff up. And then I tell them, look, I tell them my story and I said, I'm on a God given mission. So this is not always from me. Like sometimes I'm even just going along and I'll get an insight to something.
Mhm.
And like I'll get the exact sequence in my head, you know, and I'll
Mhm.
like try it and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, the angels have spoken, you know. So
Right.
and like even if I'm doing a style, a lot of times like I will visualize, like I already have the whole sequence like mapped out in my head, like I
Mhm.
almost like have like Google images in my head, like when I'm like thinking of how to do something, like it's like I go through in my head, it's like playing a movie, like I'll do step one, two, three, four, you know, and like do it just like that. So one day I was explaining the process to my client and he was looking at me so crazy. I'm like, doesn't everybody do that? He's like, no.
Oh, wow.
He goes, no, my imagination does not work like that. So I was
Wow.
like, well, you know what? I just feel like you have to be really um, receptive
Mhm.
to that inner spirit.
Mhm.
And the more it speaks to you and the more you listen, the stronger it gets. And
Yeah.
so I just tell people, you know, my life is unfolding of me listening and, you know, being receptive, you know, because if I wasn't receptive and I didn't have faith, then, you know, my walk would have looked a whole lot different, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, like so yeah, like even a lot of stuff I do, like my own little read. I do that on my own time, you
Mhm.
know, because for me that's fun, you know. So
Yeah.
like every day, like I come to work, I get to like solve a new puzzle, you know. And so that's exciting for me. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Now tell people about how they can get your book.
Okay, if they're interested in getting it, if they're on Instagram, just follow me and just follow me um, at BTN underscore salon, and
Mhm.
then just send me a message that says I want the book, and then I will send them a copy. So that's just my exclusive offer for your followers, Sierra, because actually the book is going live in about 3 weeks.
Oh,
So yeah, so it will be on Amazon after this. But yeah, in the meantime, if you're interested in getting that, you can add me on Instagram at www.instagram.com/btn underscore salon and just send me a message. I want the book, or you could send me an email to info at back to natural, and that's BACK and then TONATUREL.com. So it's info at backtonatural.com, and just say I want the book, and then I will get you a copy.
Awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being with us today, Shea. I really appreciate it. And you've given us some really good information. So thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.